Hey guys, it's Storm here. I wanted to make this video for a couple of reasons. The first one being, I feel like there's a ton of people who are misinformed or uneducated on the typical duties of what you might see a military police officer doing on duty. So I believe the main goal of this video would be to give you guys the most genuine experience of what I experienced personally, uh, pretty much on a day-to-day basis playing as MP. I'll try to make sure I run through as many duties and scenarios as possible to really emphasize the versatility of military police. One of the biggest things with MP is that no 2 days are ever really the same. So one day we might be, sitting around Site 5 for like 30 minutes, nothing really happens. And then another day I'll have back-to-back calls, might be dealing with some rogue FP, might have people interfering with traffic stops. Sometimes it can get very, very chaotic at very busy parts of the day. And I really hope this video can hopefully clarify for some people that might be misinformed or misled on how MP actually operate. I feel like there's a public appearance of MP just, standing around Site 5 not really doing anything to help. Another huge reason why I'm making this video is because I personally know a lot of people who are interested in joining MP, and I believe it's very important for people to make an informed decision, because joining MP is definitely a commitment you have to make, both time-wise and effort-wise, not just getting in, but also staying in. So, I really hope this video can clarify for some people out there, and I mean, overall, I think it's just going to be a very fun video to make and show to you guys. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy. So, firstly, we'll start off with one of the main priorities of MP, and that being obviously Site 5. It is the main battleground of MP, and not just for fighting CDs. It's also for combating FP. Pretty much every time I start a shift as MP, I will report to Site 5 to kind of check in on things. If there's an anomaly around, usually I'll make sure that they have a sufficient amount of space and there's no FP like severely bothering them or provoking them. That's a very common occurrence you'll see. Another really common thing I will see while guarding Site 5 is obviously fights amongst FP. Obviously, a lot of these fights are, they're playful. They both parties consent. If there is a time where someone does not consent to a fight, I will intervene verbally. I will tell the person to stop. Usually 99% of the time I will only use verbal intervention tactics. I rarely resort to using tools like tasers or handcuffs unless it's absolutely necessary. I'll typically stay at Site 5 for around 15 minutes. If there's multiple SCPs in Site 5, I'll usually stick around for longer just to kind of mediate between the SCPs and the FP to make sure nothing, crazy happens. If there's still no action, I will typically relocate to another duty or another site completely. Since MP is considered installation-wide enforcement, it is very important for me to continue to relocate and switch duties often to make sure that all corners of the facility are being properly enforced. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it for Site 5. Now, another big area that I tend to focus on that I feel like a lot of other MP don't prioritize as much is traffic enforcement. Now, I urge you guys to take this with a grain of salt, but Pathos players are some of the worst drivers I have ever seen. And I'm not just talking about FP either. Needless to say, traffic enforcement is pretty neglected. Now, what I'm currently doing is just a couple of laps around the facility. Primarily, I'm looking for things such as bad parking, or if there's someone recklessly driving. I'll also sweep for any Class Ds that may be walking around the highways or underneath them. Usually I'm pretty lenient when I pull someone over, So if it's like a blatant accident, then I'll typically won't hassle them at all and I'll just let them go with a verbal warning. If the person is driving like they're drunk or they're blatantly trolling, I will initiate a traffic stop and pull them over. If it does happen to be someone who is trolling, it's very common for them to take off from the traffic stop. Therefore, I will initiate a pursuit against them. Some of the most common tactics we use during a pursuit is, first of all, we can close the checkpoints. So if the person is doing laps around the facility, we can effectively stop them in their tracks. My personal favorite tactic with a near 100% rate of effectiveness is shooting and blowing up the suspect's vehicle. This tactic works so well that sometimes it even causes the person to leave the game completely. By the way, pro tip for everyone out there, if you're being detained by some law enforcement authority, leaving the game is probably the quickest way to upgrade to a felony and probably risk being banned. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say like, Storm, why do you take traffic enforcement so seriously on a LEGO game? And to that I say, in order to enforce the big laws, you have to also enforce the little ones as well. It kind of all contributes to the experience of the game. And yeah, I think that about wraps up the traffic section. So now we are at the clean rooms, and similar to how Site Epsilon is completely under MTF's jurisdiction, the clean rooms is completely under MP's jurisdiction. So typically I'll come to the clean rooms under several circumstances. The first one being if we have reports of CDs in the clean rooms, I will sometimes go and intervene if I'm close enough. Another reason I'll visit the clean rooms is also to sweep and check boxes. As you can see in the video right now, I'm currently just checking the boxes. I believe the bell is missing from one of the boxes. I always make sure to obviously open boxes to make sure that the actual SCP inside is still present, which obviously in this case it's not. So usually I would do a more thorough, in-depth sweep of the clean rooms, but obviously in this case, some sirens outside were kind of catching my attention. Usually I try to make an effort to respond to any sirens I hear. Typically because that can sometimes mean that a Class D is stolen, like an MP interceptor or any specialized vehicle that has sirens. It can also mean that sometimes an officer may be in a pursuit and might require assistance. Another reason I might report to the clean rooms is for misbehaving FP or someone trespassing, as well as if a SCD needs someone to be removed from a test. Those are all very common reasons I might also respond to the clean rooms. And that about wraps up everything for the clean rooms, so I'll catch you guys at the next section. So, I'll typically only respond to Omicron for a few reasons. The first one obviously for law enforcement purposes. It's fairly common to have FP trespassing in restricted areas within Omicron. Another big reason I would go to Omicron is if the guard line is extremely unstable and SD requires extra reinforcements to contain the Class Ds. The last big reason I would go to Omicron is to supervise and ensure that there is no misconduct happening amongst the SDs. Overall, there aren't a whole lot of reasons for MPs to be at Omicron, which is why it's sometimes rare to see them there. However, it's not impossible. And that's about it for the Omicron section. So, there's only a handful of reasons why I would need to enter Epsilon on duty. Since MP don't hold any actual authority within Site Epsilon, we generally aren't granted free access without reason. One of the most common reasons I would enter Epsilon is if I'm escorting an MTF replaceable test in the moderate containment zone. An example of some SCPs we can escort includes 049 and 082. Another reason I would enter Epsilon is if there are reports of Class D inside. though I typically will let other SD handle this unless it's a true emergency or there aren't enough SD to handle it. The last and least common reason I would have to enter Epsilon is if I'm exercising my authority as law enforcement. For example, if someone is trespassing in Epsilon or committing a crime that would require my intervention. Otherwise, I don't really have any other reasons to enter Epsilon unless, for example, I'm sweeping for boxes. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up Epsilon. Alright guys, so I'm probably going to conclude this video here. I didn't want the video to be like 30 minutes long, since the average attention span of Pathos players, let alone 10 minutes. I could probably slip in I hate Omar in here and not a lot of people would notice anyways. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully this gave you a little more insight into what MP does on a daily basis. I left quite a few things out because you could probably fill a book with every little thing that MP does, to be honest. However, I hope this video covered most of the basics into what a normal day looks like for MP. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM or another MP a DM, and we would be happy to answer it for you. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Peace.